Today, we explore a massive protest at a glue manufacturing plant. Turns out the horses are rebelling, and as a result, the manufacturers have quite a sticky situation on their hands. We spoke to one of the horse representatives and asked if they think this strike will end soon. Their response? Nay.
Hello friends, and welcome to another episode of the Poncho section. Today we are going to be talking about TV shows that got canceled too early and that were ahead of their time. Please enjoy.
Have you ever seen the show, The Joe Schmo Show?
No. Joe Schmo Show. It's a tongue twister.
Yeah, it was a show on Spike. It was like a spoof on... Sort of a spoof. It was a sort of spoof on the reality shows.
Yeah.
So what they would do is they would get one real person, and they would base the show all around them, and every single other person, all the other contestants are all actors. So they put them through like ridiculous shit, and the idea is like it's like funny because you have like all the stereotypes. You have the bitchy girl, you have the super intense guy, you have the asshole, you have the gay guy.
Joe Schmo's like not aware.
He's not aware of it at all. So he's completely in this world thinking like, oh, these people are crazy and whatever. And he's typically like, they try to find the nicest possible person ever to be in this. And then at the end, they obviously do a reveal. And I don't know if you ever remember. Do you remember Spike TV would every so often have something it would play this voice. It would go, "What is going on?"
I don't know. I never watched Spike TV.
Oh, okay, but they took, that's what he eventually did at the end, because they're like the reveal was essentially like something's going wrong. Somebody lied about themselves, and the guy who won, they ended up making the asshole win. So he ended up still being like the nicest guy with that. He's like, "Yeah, good job, man." Yeah. And like they're like, the producer came on, they're like, something's wrong, but yada yada yada, and they're like, the host is like, all right, somebody lied about who they are. This is messing things up. So does anybody have something to say? And then the guy who won is like, all right, I'm my name isn't this thing, my name is this guy. I'm an actor. He's like, dude, you've ruined the whole show. He's like, well, what about that guy? And like the guy, they all start revealing themselves, and he eventually the guy who's like not in on it, the guy who they're playing it on, just eventually goes, what's going on? Yeah. And the best part is like, because he ends up becoming like, I don't know about after this, but he like during the show became like best friends with one of the dudes, and like that other dude was up there with him. Oh, yeah. And he's like, dude, are you an actor? Yeah. Are you an actor? And then they eventually he says yes. So he has no idea what's going on. It's crazy. Super funny. Ends up being like the nicest guy. They give him, they reveal it, and they're like, every single prize that was supposed to be in the show, that's all for you. We're giving you $100,000. Yada yada yada. I thought of this today, and I was just curious, and I was looking at it, and I looked at who some of the actors are. Yeah. Kristen Wiig was one of the actors.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my god. So, wow. That's where she got her start.
I guess so. She was young looking. Mm-hmm. She was young looking. It was
her pre-SNL days.
I definitely. It was crazy. She was like super young.
Completely unknown.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool. I'll have to watch that now.
I was cracking up. It's so funny.
I never really watched Spike. The only thing, I think it was the Most Extreme Elimination Challenge. I want to say that was on Spike. Do you remember that show? That's like, they did a show on
Extreme Elimination Challenge.
So it was
that sounds so familiar. What is that? Yeah,
the show Wipeout that was on ABC. It was like, an
yes,
version of it.
Yes,
but it was nowhere close to the.
Oh yes, that show was the best
because it was dubbed over like Japanese.
Yes,
voices, which
that was the best.
Which made it so much better.
I loved that show.
Wipeout was a silly copycat. I was never a fan of that show just because I knew what the other one was.
It like, you know what I think the best part is, because the why Wipeout didn't work is because what was it called? Most Extreme Elimination Challenge.
They abbreviate to MXC.
Yeah, that was clearly filmed ahead of time, and then they dubbed it in after.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It doesn't work the same way when you're trying to do it at the same time that it's going on, which I think is the big issue that Wipeout was having, because they're trying to be funny in the moment, and it's like, okay, I see what you're trying to do.
Yeah, I don't like shows like that try way too hard.
Yeah.
And that's so common in reality shows, where they just, everything's like a big twist, and then they all look, and then they go to a commercial break. You know, it's always the same with that stuff. So, yeah, It's not that great. But that was the one thing I watched on Spike. And then more recently I watched Bar Rescue. That was...
Oh, I loved Bar Rescue.
That's
John Taffer?
Yeah, that's a show I'll watch if I have, like, I'm just flipping around channels and I see that's on. I'll just
watch a crazy man yell at people.
Yeah, I know what's gonna happen, but it's fun. It's just like it's pure dumb entertainment.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I guess are we going right in?
I guess so. Why not?
All right.
We're trying to get our levels, but let's keep going.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right.
Yeah, so we were there. I think for both of us, there's a lot of shows in our past that we kind of wish had gone on longer.
Absolutely.
That there are certain things that got canceled way too early, or that just for whatever reason just had a short run.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what we're talking about today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a lot of these shows got a second life later on after cancellation.
Yeah, I mean, we can go into that like with Family Guy. I know Family Guy actually so it ran for a couple seasons. Yeah. Then got canceled by Fox and ran on Adult Swim, right? And
yes,
on Adult Swim, it was in that like 11:30 spot, and was actually the ratings were actually better than the Tonight Show and Letterman.
Really?
Yeah, that's what brought it back. And then DVD sales too. People just it got like a second wind, if you will. So
why don't I have that in my notes?
I don't know, but that was.
I thought I had. I definitely did something about Family Guy here. Oh, there it is.
Yeah, I mean, so there's instances of that, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't.
Oh yeah, they got right. On Adult Swim, the viewership went up 239%.
Yeah, and I think in certain cases, like as with Family Guy, it actually works out where they came back and they've been on, right? They're still on? They're
still on, which, like, when they came back, it was, they started out pretty good, and then I thought they went kind of downhill after that, because I think the jokes kind of got tired, and honestly, I thought the biggest issue is when they changed up who the characters are.
Yeah.
Where Peter ended up literally becoming retarded. That's what they say he is.
Yeah.
He started out as just like kind of like a dumb dad, trying to do his best, but still kind of an idiot. And then they made him retarded. And then I guess Chris, the son, went from being just a normal teenage kid to, I guess, being also retarded. I don't know what his deal is.
Yeah.
Meg went from being like a teenage girl to a punching bag.
Yeah.
Lois is blank space. She's really nothing in the new episodes. And then Brian became like a liberal douche, which I mean, whatever. But and then Stewie went from being like an evil mastermind to being gay.
Yeah, that wasn't funny.
Which that's not. I don't know. That's not funny.
I agree, and I think you can make the argument that when shows, they get a big following, and then they come back, it's not always the best thing. Maybe it should stay in its like wheelhouse, where it just had the one short run, and it has like the cult following.
Yeah,
and it just lives on forever, and you don't come back and make something new. But yeah, I mean, it depends. I mean, there's lots of shows that you have down on your notes and lots of things lots of shows I was thinking about today in particular. There was one in particular that I remembered. There was a show, Brooklyn Bridge, that my parents used to watch back in the early 90s. And I think I looked online, and the review has like an 8.6 on IMDb.
Okay.
It doesn't even have a picture. That's how small of a show I guess it was. But I think it was on a network like CBS or something.
Okay.
And it was one of those shows too that it didn't have, it didn't have a laugh track or anything. It was just kind of, it was what it was. And I think there's always a time and place for everything. And I think that in the case of a lot of these shows, they were before their time or just at the wrong time.
Yeah.
And and you can make the case with that with Freaks and Geeks.
Absolutely.
Because Freaks and Geeks, I still think, is one of the greatest shows, and it only had one season, 18 episodes, I believe.
Yeah, it's a shame. Originally, it was only 12 episodes, and then I believe they ended up getting out a few more on. It was when it was back in the day of Fox Family.
Yeah,
and that only ran between September 1999 to July 2000.
Really? Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it was so short-lived, and when we watch it now on Netflix, it's like all of us have at this point.
Yeah.
It's like, how did this show not get any more traction? And I was curious about that, and I was looking up when it aired, and I don't know if you did the same thing, but they had it premiere on a Saturday, I think.
Oh, really? I didn't look up.
I think so. I want, because I looked at the air. I was curious about the air dates.
Okay.
And it premiered on a Saturday. I feel like that's a dead.
That is a weird day to premiere something.
Sunday through Thursday. Those are like the good.
Right. Everybody goes out on a Saturday.
Yeah, Friday and Saturday are terrible spots.
Right.
So I'm very surprised. So in that sense, I feel like it was doomed from the start.
Huh.
But also, you think back to that time. I mean, now we know Seth Rogen, Jason Segel, James Franco. We know them. They're big stars. Back then, they weren't.
Right. And I wonder, was Judd Apatow? Because it was Judd Apatow and Paul Feig.
Yeah.
Were they pretty big back then, or was that they're kind of starting?
I know Paul. Paul Feig. The only thing I knew him from, and this is kind of actually two things. He was in the movie Heavyweights.
Oh my God! Yes, he was.
Which was great. He was the guy that they all picked on because he lost.
Because he lost the weight. Yeah.
Yeah. So I remember that, and also I don't know if you ever watched the show Sabrina, the Teenage Witch.
Yeah. He
was a teacher. He was Mr. Poole. I don't know if you remember that. But.
I believe it. I don't remember that.
Yeah. So he. So those were like the little things I knew him from.
Okay.
But as far as directing chops and everything and producing, I don't really know. We know now that he's done very well for himself.
Absolutely.
But back then, so it was his show, and Apatow was also part of it as a producer.
Yeah, he was like an executive producer, regular producer.
And what's interesting too, you said they had 12 episodes, and then they aired the last 6.
6. We could do math
on Fox. No, I forgot if there were 18 or not. But yeah, there's. So
I think there's 18.
Yeah, so they aired the last 6 on Fox Family. Now were they in order? Because I read somewhere that they might have done some out of order. And that's always the kiss of death.
Yeah, that I don't know. I couldn't find too much about it. I know that from the later stuff I found that it re-aired on IFC. And I was curious if the, I guess, cult persona about it began before that or after. Yeah. I think it probably... You know what? It was definitely before that because TV Guide and Time Magazine. So TV Guide had it at number 21 of the top cult TV shows ever in 2007. Yeah. And then Time Magazine also in 2007 had 100 greatest shows of all time. So they ended up on that list. 2008, their Entertainment Weekly number 13 on the best series of the past 25 years. And then I guess in 2013... TV Guide also put out they're on the 60 greatest drama of all time, and they got also number 1 on the Canceled Too Soon.
Oh, well, yeah.
So, absolutely. They were definitely canceled too soon.
Yeah.
So, but I don't know too much about the extra episodes that they've put out on Fox Family.
Well, we've seen all of them, though. But you're saying you don't know which ones...
Right, yeah. I don't know the exact order in which they've put them out or... which order they play within the storyline.
The one thing I do know, because I think it was Judd Apatow on a podcast, where he talked about because they knew they were getting canceled, they were able to make a finale. So that last episode of the show where
Dungeons and Dragons, something like that?
Yeah. And then when gosh, I'm forgetting her name. Well, the actress's name is Linda Cardellini. Lindsay.
Lindsay, yes.
Okay, so Lindsay goes off in the van with Kim. With the Grateful Dead hippies, and they go off to the Grateful Dead concert. She tells her parents she's going to this program.
Yeah.
This like summer school honors thing in Michigan, and then she gets into the van, she rides off, and it's kind of like mysterious.
Mysterious ending, yeah.
But they did that on purpose, so they actually had an ending written. But the one thing that's interesting, back then, I'm trying to think what was on TV, and this show was on NBC. So at that time, Seinfeld is over, right?
Yeah,
Seinfeld
correct.
ended already. Friends is still on.
Yeah.
Frasier is still on.
Okay, I believe you on that.
Will and Grace is still on. That's their Thursday block, right?
Okay, right.
You have ER. Am I missing? There's probably other stuff I'm leaving out.
Yeah.
But basically, NBC is like on its game.
Yeah.
And NBC has really good programs with good viewers. Now I think, this is just a theory, the problem with Freaks and Geeks is that it didn't really fit into any of their compartments that they had at NBC.
Yeah,
Where they had the sitcom, basic laugh track sitcom,
Right.
Friends and Frasier and Will and Grace, and then you have like the hospital drama and ER.
Yeah.
Where Freaks and Geeks kind of wavered in between. Didn't have a laugh track, and was an hour long.
Right.
And I think that was a tougher sell. What's sad is that had the show been pitched today, it would have done great.
I think so.
And also, they probably would have went straight to Netflix or something. They wouldn't have even bothered with the major networks.
I'm curious.
Maybe HBO.
Yeah, I'm curious what those other shows, what their viewership was. Because from what I looked it up, the average viewership of Freaks and Geeks was about 6.77 to about almost 7 million on average. So, which I guess is not good, according to NBC, because they obviously canceled it.
Yeah.
So I wonder what is their...
Well, I think
for them good.
Yeah, I don't know, and I think it was different back then too because there wasn't as many options.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, there was no Netflix.
There's no Netflix, no Hulu, no Amazon Prime or any of that stuff.
Yeah, and even so, there really wasn't that many cable shows at the time. AMC didn't have any shows like that. That just started.
Yeah, AMC has been pumping out incredible shows,
and now everywhere has shows, and that's a newer thing. That's okay. That's fine.
Oh, it needs to be a train in our podcast.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think a lot has changed in the TV industry, and there's so much more out there. I mean, I keep seeing stuff. I saw a commercial like for a TNT show. I was like, geez, I would never know this existed. Like, there's just so much out there, so I feel like there's a lot more room for these shows now.
Possibly, yeah.
And they still get canceled.
Right. Yeah,
especially if they're on Fox or NBC or something. They still
absolutely.
Get
I was looking at when I was looking this up. I found like an article that said like 50 shows that were canceled in 2016. I was like, holy crap!
I saw that too. Yeah, yeah, but they don't have to be. They have other options though, because that happened to the Mindy Project.
Oh, really?
Fox didn't renew it, which I guess is the same as canceling it. They said, all right, we'll just take it to Hulu, and now they just release it on Hulu. So, yeah, back then you don't have that option.
Yeah, that's true. So, that is true.
But you can also... I wonder if Freaks and Geeks still would have been good if it had gone on. You know, some shows go on way too long. We were just saying Family Guy kind of has gone on way too long. The Simpsons, I love The Simpsons. The Simpsons has gone on way, way, way too long.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder if eventually it would have gone downhill. Mm-hmm. I think they probably could have gotten a couple more seasons.
I think so.
Yeah,
and you know what? Even so, because I think this will blend well into another show of Apatow, Undeclared, because that was, although it was more present day, early 2000s, that was college era.
It kind of feels like a sequel.
A little bit, yeah. I mean, I know they have like a few of the same characters, not characters, a few of the same actors in Undeclared as in Freaks and Geeks, and I think if Freaks and Geeks kept going on, I think they could have easily blended it into, all right, well now they're at college age, you know?
Yeah. Undeclared doesn't happen though if Freaks and Geeks doesn't get canceled.
That is true though.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, and I know that they were trying to get a lot, if not most of the actors from Freaks, and most of them have like guest spots in
yeah, there are a bunch of guest
spots.
spots.
You have Seth Rogen and you have Jason Segel.
Yeah,
and Undeclared was a great show too.
I thought it was.
I don't think it's as good as Freaks and Geeks, but still on its own, it's a very good show.
I definitely.
And I think it actually, in a strange way, portrays college pretty well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it does. Yeah, scarily accurate.
Yeah, it actually is very accurate because it's like it doesn't go over the top in a lot of stuff. I mean, there's some things because we went to college together, so we see some stuff and we're like, oh, we could never get away with that or certain things. But a lot of it, like, there's like little things where they go and watch like movies like outside or just like the dorms to me actually seemed more realistic than most college dorms that are portrayed on TV.
Absolutely, because I always see like in certain shows that the dorms seem to be this like enormous space that like, oh, we're gonna totally like pimp out the dorm and make it look this incredible thing. No, they're supposed to be like tiny and shitty.
They're tiny rooms, and you know what's funny? I always think of the movie Road Trip.
Okay, yeah.
They go into the dorm room. It's like this big 3-person bedroom. And they have like these nice big beds. I'm like, where the fuck are these guys going? Yeah. Yeah, it's such bullshit.
That also was short-lived, only between September 2001 to March 2002. So that didn't even last a year.
Yeah, and again, I think that was, that show was a straight-up comedy. Had elements of drama for sure.
Yeah.
But it was more comedy and was only a half an hour.
Right.
Yeah, I think that... Yeah, I don't know what the problem was with that one. I think maybe, again, no laugh track. I don't know. My theory.
Maybe people need laugh tracks?
I have a laugh track theory that people need other people laughing so they know it's okay. Or at least maybe back then they did. And
should we add a laugh track to this podcast?
They got comfortable with it. Well, but at the same time, when that came out, though, didn't Malcolm in the Middle come out at the same... around that same time?
Did it?
I think so, and I feel like it's a similar kind of...
I feel
format in a way.
I could be wrong, but I feel like that came out before that.
Before Undeclared came out before Malcolm?
No, the other way.
Oh, no, I think you're right. Maybe like a year or two before. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I really don't know why Undeclared failed.
It ended up becoming like way bigger like later on because they released the DVDs of it, and then eventually the same thing with Freaks and Geeks. IFC picked them up, and now it's on Netflix. Also, the one thing I was surprised about, which I didn't know. I mean, obviously this is way past anything you and I would watch, but Teen Nick picked up both of those shows in 2011.
Really?
Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe that got the people who are a bit younger than us into it, and then it got onto Netflix. So, yeah, that was surprising.
That's really interesting. I mean, it's a good idea.
Yeah.
I like watching old shows. I like watching like syndicated shows. Mm-hmm. You know, I think it's a great idea bringing these shows back.
Absolutely,
I think they do well, if not better, in their second run. I think we learned that from these shows. So yeah, in Undeclared's case, I really don't know. It might have been just a bad time slot again. You know?
Yeah, I didn't. I didn't think about what you did with Freaks and Geeks, finding out that they aired on a Saturday. I'm curious when Undeclared aired.
It's timing, and the other shows around it too. Undeclared, I believe, was on Fox.
Yeah,
a lot going on at Fox at that time too. And I think that was a time when they were canceling a lot of shows. I guess this is pre-Arrested Development.
Yeah.
And that's another one we could talk about
definitely, too. I got that on my list.
Oh, wow, look at it. And it's the next one. I didn't even know. Well, there's an example of a show that it ran for 3 seasons, got canceled, and people were upset. It's done very well in syndication, Netflix, all that stuff, and people demanded another season. 10 years later, right? 10 years? Or
something like that.
Or maybe not even 10 years.
Maybe 6?
Yeah. Okay, so it wasn't that long.
I think it was 6 years.
They come out with a season 4.
Yeah.
And it gets mixed reviews. Mm-hmm. Whereas me personally, I like season 4. A lot of people didn't. Because the format was different. Yeah. They didn't have the whole cast there at once because they've gone on to do other things. They don't have as much time on their hands. So that's a case where everyone kind of demanded a 4th season, and then they got it. They weren't thrilled about it. And I really haven't heard much about a 5th one. I know that people weren't happy with the way it ended, but they're kind of like, whatever happens, happens.
I've heard some rumors.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's going to actually be anything.
Yeah.
The last thing that I read, Jason Bateman was saying, like, he hasn't seen a single thing, so...
Right. So, I don't know if it would have been better for them to just go with what they had and and kind of let it live on its cult following without bringing it back for the 4th season. I like the 4th season, however, it might have been better had they just kept it to the original 3.
Also,
let it live on like that.
What did Portia do to her face?
Yeah, well, that's a whole nother discussion. But yeah, there's that, and also older Michael Cera, I wasn't. Yeah, I couldn't get used to. I know
that was a little weird, but I mean, he's always kind of been like, I don't know, young looking. Yeah, did I tell you that I saw him in The Village once?
Really? No, you didn't tell me that.
Oh yeah, I was walking around and I'm almost 100% positive it was him. And he was like, he was dressed up looking like a hipster and just like totally had this look of, I hope nobody like notices me, and kind of scurried away like really quick.
Of course they're going to notice you. Yeah.
It was, he looked like in Superbad when he was just like, bye. And he just kind of, that is him. Yeah. When he walks away from Becca. right?
Yeah.
He's like, bye, and he just walks away, like all kind of like weird and timid. Take that, throw it into the village.
Okay.
Yeah.
And when was this? Was it recent?
2 years ago, maybe.
Okay. Yeah. Well, again, Michael Cera has gone on to do some great stuff.
All because he saw me, or I saw him.
He saw him. Yeah, but that's a scenario where I think maybe it might have been better had they just had the original run.
Yeah.
It was exciting when it came back. I had a viewing party. That was cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, so people sometimes you get what you wish for, and then you don't want it anymore.
Yeah. Do you have a show that you like loved that was canceled really quick?
So I have a couple. Yeah. Well, I was thinking about a couple today. The show Bored to Death I really liked on HBO.
Okay.
That had 3 seasons and then got canceled. They didn't give it a chance for finale, and that was really upsetting.
I remember you showing me that with what was it? Is it Ted Danson?
Ted Danson, Jason Schwartzman,
yes.
and Zach Galifianakis. Great cast.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the reason they canceled that show, I really couldn't tell you. Maybe it came down to ratings. Mm-hmm. But again, HBO doesn't seem to care about ratings because there's shows that have terrible ratings and still like the show Girls. That show had terrible ratings.
Gross.
But I think Lena Dunham maybe had some pull. I don't know.
Maybe.
I have no idea. But but yeah, unfortunately, Bored to Death couldn't hack it. But all the seasons are available on HBO Go. Also, my favorite was The Life and Times of Tim.
Oh, okay.
That was also on HBO. There was a cartoon where that had 2 seasons, got canceled. Then they uncanceled it, brought it back for a 3rd season, and then they canceled it again.
Oh, well, that's pretty annoying.
And what sucks even more about that show is that it's not even available. It's not available anywhere. Like it's not on HBO Go anymore.
That's really annoying.
I don't understand it. And that one upset me. I would say go check it out, but I guess you got to go to YouTube or something, or buy the DVDs if you really watch it. Such a funny show. If you like dry humor, it's very dry humor, but it's good, kind of similar to Dilbert.
Okay,
yeah.
I think I've seen like a few episodes here and there. I always hate it when if you cancel a show, and I don't know what the licensing situation is there, but like if you're not going to keep putting on the show, at least maybe keep it in the syndication of it, so that people can still view it.
Yeah, that one's strange to me because HBO usually does keep all of them because they have kept Bored to Death. So I don't really know what happened there. Obviously, there was something that happened that I'm completely unaware of. So there's those 2, and another one I want to mention, which I don't know if you ever watched it. It was on Fox. It was on in 2002 or 2003.
Okay.
I had it written down, but the show was Oliver Bean. Do you remember Oliver Bean?
No.
Okay.
What is that? Oliver Bean. Wait, maybe. I don't know.
Oliver Bean, which I learned something today, which I didn't know. Oliver Bean was actually very similar format to the Wonder Years. It actually took place in the 60s, and it had a narrator. And the narrator, it was pretty much stole. The narrator was the older version of Oliver Bean, who was 11 years old.
Okay.
And the narrator was David Cross.
Oh my God.
He was the older Oliver Bean, which I had no idea.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And that show, I haven't seen it in years. I watched it when I was younger.
Yeah.
So maybe it wasn't that good.
Okay.
But I remember it being hilarious when I was a kid.
Oliver Bean.
Yeah. And it was kind of like I wouldn't say it was like the Wonder Years because it wasn't really, there was no like drama to it. It was just pure comedy.
Okay.
And it was really silly and like, it was pretty much, to me, the show was poking fun at the time.
Okay.
Because I remember one episode where the older brother was played by he's one of the Lawrence brothers. I think I don't know which one, because there's Matthew and Joey Lawrence was the one that was on Blossom.
Okay.
The oldest Lawrence. Then there was Matthew Lawrence who was on Boy Meets World. There was a younger one.
Oh, really? I did not know that.
I think I could look it up. Whatever. It was the youngest Lawrence brother.
Okay.
Probably had a name like that. I thought his name was Matthew too. Anyway.
2 Matthews in a family.
I don't know. But so the older brother, that was the older brother, and the younger one. Oliver Bean.
Okay.
Who's 11, is Grant Rosenmeyer, he was also in the Royal Tenenbaums. He played one of Ben Stiller's
One
kids.
of the kids?
Yeah.
Okay.
So he was the main guy. Anyway, the older brother cracked me up because he was like a real like womanizer. He was like because all the Lawrence brothers are handsome, so he was like a handsome guy.
Yeah.
And he was like super goofy. There's one episode where he goes on a show, and I think it's something like American Bandstand.
Really?
Something, and he wants to get, and I don't remember the exact premise, but I know he wants to like stir some trouble, and he wants to get, I don't know, like get something like dirty on the air.
Okay.
And you don't know what he's gonna do, and then he causes a stir, and the camera goes to him, and he looks at the camera, and he just goes penis, and then they all freak out, and then they take him out, and it was very aware of itself, like how silly it was.
That's awesome.
I thought it was so good, and that's another show. And I used to watch it with me and my 7th grade friends. We used to watch it together.
Yeah.
I was so sad when that show got canceled. I was like, why? This was so good.
That's so funny.
I don't know if maybe it was like very adolescent humor.
Maybe.
I don't know, but it's like one of those shows.
I thought that was funny.
Yeah, it's one of those shows I really miss, and I don't know where to find it. It's not anywhere. It's like forgotten about.
Yeah.
Been buried. That was on Fox 2. That was on the Sunday night lineup.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
In the whole idea of shows that take place in the past, essentially, there's one show that I can think of, and it's called Glory Days.
Yeah.
It was on TBS.
Yeah, I remember
and it
that.
was when they actually like dared to put out original content, because there was a huge chunk of time when TBS all they played was syndicated
Tyler
stuff.
Perry's House of Pain isn't original content. Good quality original content.
I'm sorry, I forgot about Tyler Perry's House of Pain.
Yeah. Besides House of Pain.
Right, besides House of Pain, but they would only play like King of Queens and Raymond and all that stuff. Not that I don't like Raymond or some episodes of King of Queens, but it was refreshing to see like a new like original show. Sure. And I loved Glory Days. I like really enjoyed it. It started Tim Meadows was in the show.
Oh yeah,
that guy. I had the name here. Chris D'Elia, I believe his name. D'Elia. He's a Delia. He's a comedian.
Or D'Elia.
D'Elia? Sure.
Sorry,
Chris. That guy. He's a comedian. Look up Glory Days. That's the guy. Mm-hmm. He does the Drake comedy. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I loved that show because it's based in the 80s. A group of kids going to college. Mm-hmm. And I always viewed it as it was a show about firsts. Like the first time they go to a party. The first time they try to buy beer. Mm-hmm. The first time they hook up with a girl. And this and that. And I thought it was really funny and really refreshing, and I thought it was like, okay, obviously some parts are exaggerated because it's TV, but for the most part it seemed really relatable. This came out around 2010. Yeah. And was only around for a year, and that's around it was probably around the end of our junior year into senior year, so it was pretty relatable, I would say, even though it's a different decade.
Yeah.
But I don't know, I really liked it. I thought it was a relatable and refreshing bit of entertainment on TBS, and they decided not to go forward with it for a second season.
Yeah, well, you keep saying relatable. That's the thing with a lot of these shows. Mm-hmm. I find, especially in Freaks and Geeks, there's a lot of stuff that's relatable to my life, even if not 100%. There's little elements you can always take out, and I think that is something that maybe for us is something we're like, well, why wouldn't this work? Yeah. Maybe someone else somewhere else would say, like, this is nothing like my life, so they have no interest.
Right. Maybe.
It's hard to say. But a lot of these shows, I feel like it came down to timing. Mm-hmm. Timing and, again, like, before their time. Because right now, there's so much on that I feel like would have never survived. Yeah. Do you think that a Full House or Fuller House would ever survive in 10 years ago on like a NBC or something? Never survive.
I think the only reason like Fuller House exists is nostalgia. For the nostalgia of the people that grew up with it. That's solely the only reason.
I'm guilty of watching it because I have that nostalgia. Because I have that nostalgia because I used to watch the show. Yeah. And I'm not gonna lie to you, it's terrible. However, I still find myself watching it, and it's like one of those things. I'm like, I don't understand. It's so bad, but I feel like I'm watching. It's like the nostalgia factor. Yeah. And then I also like seeing Bob Saget because he cracks me up.
I noticed that with Girl Meets World. Not that I watched it. I watched one episode, not even an episode. I watched a scene from an episode, and I couldn't bear it because they totally Disney-fied it the way that like Disney does their shows now, where the set is like you can clearly tell that's not a house. No house looks like that. The Matthews of Boy Meets World lived in what I could get away with.
Pennsylvania. Yeah.
It looked like a house. It looked like a normal kind of normal dwelling.
Where they lived in Pennsylvania, right? Or like outside of Philadelphia?
Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, well, it looked
but it looked normal.
Like a suburban town.
Right.
And in that one, they're like supposed to be in New York, and it's nowhere close to looking like New York.
But like, I don't know, it got so, it was just terrible. It was not funny at all.
Is that still on? I think
it's still on. I don't know.
I think that one's more like catered to a new generation because...
But I'm wondering, like, who is that really for as well? Because is that the nostalgia of... It's catered towards kids, but it's not the nostalgia of us. Why would we watch it, even though we grew up with it?
I think that one in particular, because that show, because like you said, it looks very different. And I've seen it. I saw like an episode, I think, when it first came out.
Yeah.
And I was like, this doesn't feel like, this isn't nostalgia for me because this feels like a totally different thing. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think what they're going for probably is having maybe parents with their kids watching it.
Right.
It's like the kids like it and the parents can like say, oh, like I remember these characters. So
sure.
It gives them an excuse to watch it together.
Perhaps,
and it's really handing it off to different kids. So honestly, in that's almost smarter to me, like, because they kind of get a whole new audience.
Right.
Whereas Fuller House, it's basically digging up stuff from the past. I mean, it's terrible, it's bad, but I watch it and it's so stupid. But it is just digging up stuff. Like remember, like it's made for the people who saw the original show.
Right.
Like if you haven't seen it, then none of it's going to be even dumber if that's possible. So it's just digging up stuff, and then like old cast members make guest appearances. Like John Stamos pops in, and they're like woo, and then he just like says his lines, like his have mercy and all these lines that he used to say in the original show. It's really dumb, but Netflix was like, yeah, let's do it.
Oh yeah.
Again,
they're making money.
In today, like they're given the opportunity, and we might see more of that. We might see more of these shows. Like these shows. I mean, it's happening with Gilmore Girls is coming back.
That's what I've heard.
Yeah, so Netflix is greenlighting a lot of this stuff.
Yeah,
and it's really interesting too because with that, I was on a pilot set with Alexis Bledel, who was on she's the main Gilmore Girl. I don't know. I don't watch the show.
The daughter.
The daughter. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So that show did not work out. The pilot I was on. It was actually a remake of Gavin and Stacey, which was a British show.
Okay.
It was a American version of that. So obviously she's been shopping around pilots or whatever she's been doing, and then they said, "Hey, we can bring Gilmore Girls back. Netflix wants it," and it's like, boom, I'm in. Just like that. I mean, it helps careers.
Yeah.
Think about the Full House group.
Yeah.
You think their careers were really taken off?
Well, what's
the ones on The View, but
there's one that did the Pants Off Dance Off. Do you remember that?
Yeah, well, I work for that company now. Yeah. So yes, I do, but she wasn't doing much. I mean, she's had some issues with drugs and stuff.
That's what I've heard.
Because I saw her talk at college.
Oh, really?
Freshman year, she gave a talk about like her past life of drugs, and it came out like a couple weeks later that she was still on drugs.
Oh, really?
She hadn't kicked it just yet. I think now she's clean.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know, but as far as I've heard from tabloids,
the only talk I saw was when Ice-T came to visit. Great. That was awesome.
That was great.
That was so cool.
He actually, that was a very inspirational talk.
Yeah, man.
I like
Ice-T. He's a cool dude.
That was good. So do we have anything else that we wanted to cover as far as shows? Or?
I have two more shows.
Yeah, let's dive in.
And then I actually had a question for you. Mm-hmm. So the first show that I wanted to bring up was Futurama, because that had a few different incarnations.
Yeah.
So the original run was from 1999 to 2003.
Right.
And that was on Fox. And the thing, I guess, what was it? There was 19 million viewers when it initially started, and then it dropped to about 6 million in 2003.
Yeah.
which I guess if you're Fox, I guess you want to make sure that you keep those views up. But like, I feel like it's a Matt Groening kind of thing. Like the Simpsons, like I would trust him, but I guess they didn't. And it looks like they picked it up. It was picked up by Comedy Central.
Yeah.
And they were playing all the reruns, and then in that getting picked up by them. Oh, I'm sorry. Before that, it was Cartoon Network actually. Yeah. Cartoon Network seems to
Adult Swim.
Adult Swim, exactly. Same thing with like Family Guy with Adult Swim. So first it was picked up by Cartoon Network between 2002 and 2007, and then Comedy Central picked it up 2009 to 2013 when it ended. And I just thought, like, I don't know. What did you think about? Are you a fan of Futurama?
I'm a huge fan of Futurama.
Okay, what did you think of the new episodes?
I mean, I still thought they were good. You know, I thought maybe the original had like a slight edge. The original run, but I didn't think it was that far off. Yeah.
What I really liked was when they came out with like those mini movies. Yeah. It was like maybe an hour long or maybe 2 episodes long. Yeah. Those I really liked. I thought Futurama was really good at giving the feels. Yeah. So they would have like certain moments where you're just like, oh, all right. Okay.
No, it was. I mean, I love that show. It's so well done, and almost like I think in its original run, maybe it was just like too smart for people. It took a while to catch on. Yeah. Who knows? Yeah,
they were like super smart. Like there was a few episodes. If you look at the first episode, you could see Nibbler. Underneath the table. So they put a character in that they weren't going to bring up for like 2 or 3 seasons.
Well, I think we talked. Did we talk about that in our pilot episode? I think we
did, but that's our unaired episode.
Yeah. Oh, that's right.
We've never aired that episode.
Yeah, we never aired that pilot.
Which we probably never will. For reasons.
Yeah, but no, it's true.
There's that. There's an episode when they actually like figured out like it's now like a mathematical like thing because I guess it was the episode when people were switching bodies, and they because there's like physicists and stuff, people that went to Harvard working on this show, that I guess they figured out some sort of crazy mathematical thing that allowed people to like keep trading bodies, and you would end up getting back to the original person. It's a whole bunch of craziness. So, but yeah, so like the people running the show are incredibly smart, and the writing is very smart. So maybe it was ahead of its time, you know?
Yeah. No, I mean, I think that's the case with a lot of these, that they really were ahead of their time. Luckily for Futurama, it did get a second life.
Yeah, it did definitely got a second life,
and it ended too.
Yeah, they were able to say goodbye and end it. It was nice.
Yeah, which Family Guy should have taken that cue.
They definitely should take that cue.
But all around, personally, I've always found Futurama to be a superior show.
Yeah. The other one I wanted to bring up, and it's actually something I actually never really watched, but I knew that it was like a big show that a lot of people liked, and it was Firefly. Yeah. And I was curious if you ever watched it.
I never did, but that was like something I would hear from other people all the time. They're like, Firefly was so good, and that's something I'd like to check out.
Yeah, and no, it's not on Netflix now, so.
Yeah, that was a short-lived show, and that's like just a mystery.
Right, and that Joss Whedon, because he's put out, I mean, the list of things that he's worked on that have been incredible. I mean, it's endless. Like there's Buffy, which I never watched those shows, but they were huge. And then he's worked on a lot of the Marvel movies and all that kind of shows. So I mean, I wonder what the missing element was that made this show not work.
We would have to watch and find out. Yeah. But I know a lot of people were big fans. I really couldn't tell you. The only inkling I could have was maybe it was too bizarre for it was on Fox, right?
I think yes, it was on Fox.
It was just too bizarre for Fox. And Fox is notorious for canceling a lot of stuff too early.
Yeah.
So, I mean, who knows? Again, that's another show that could get a second life, or I think it probably will ultimately one day get a second life. But
possibly.
But if it had been on Netflix, think about Stranger Things. You know, we talk about Stranger Things. Would Stranger Things work anywhere else besides Netflix? Or maybe like an HBO or Showtime, perhaps?
Maybe. Also, the other one possible, I don't think it would work on Fox. Maybe AMC with like how they've done really well with Breaking Bad and The Walking Dead. That's the only non like HBO kind of style TV channel I could see that working.
So it would never work on on the big three.
No.
Yeah, that's the thing. So, whereas you look at a show, it's always interesting to me that Lost was on ABC.
Yeah.
If you think about it, if Lost was pitched now, Lost wouldn't be on ABC. Lost would be on Netflix, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So I'm always fascinated by that stuff.
Yeah. So the last thing I was just curious about is if you could have a show come back, whether or not it was canceled early, which I guess is the topic of today's podcast, but I'm just curious overall with ending it. Any sort of show, whether it's canceled early or just
if I could have any show come back. Oh, that's so tough. That's such a big.
Oh no!
Oh no! We're getting a phone call. It's ruining my train of thought. No,
keep thinking. I got a text.
I think honestly, I want Oliver Bean to come back because I want to see what was going on. Just because it's not available anywhere, I can't. There's nowhere for me to relive any of it.
Yeah.
So that would be the only reason. With the other stuff, they're on Netflix or wherever, and you can find them and you can rewatch them.
Yeah.
Even the show Dinosaurs from back in the 90s.
Dinosaurs. Oh my god.
Which was the best.
I forgot about that show.
Because I watched it one night when I was under the influence. And it's great. It's great to come.
Is it? I think I would love for Rocko's Modern Life to come back.
Oh, yeah.
But, like, keep in the same style. Don't, like, try to make things modern or relevant to today's world. Keep it in that craziness where you have the choky chicken and really, really big man gazing into his nipples of the future.
Yeah. No. There's a lot of good stuff. But I would say Oliver Bean for me.
Okay, excellent.
What about you? You see Rocko's Modern Life, you think?
I would say, you know what? I would say Rocko's Modern Life for like a show that wasn't necessarily. I don't know. I guess it just ended. I don't know. Let's go with Glory Days. I think I would like to see that again.
You know, those cartoons, those Nickelodeon cartoons are coming back though because they're bringing back Hey Arnold.
Oh really?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. So be careful what you wish for.
It might turn out to end up being shit and ruin our childhood.
Yeah, I'm always afraid of that.
Thanks, George Lucas.
Yeah, George Lucas started that trend. It's all Hayden Christensen's fault.
Yep.
Ruined it. So I think bottom line is that timing plays a big factor in all
Absolutely.
This. And that nowadays there's a lot more opportunity and a lot more networks where these shows can go and they can get an audience in so many places. Even like places like Vimeo. There's just so much.
Yeah.
So
all right.
I mean, these shows, you can find them. The internet's a wonderful place where you can find almost anything. So
pretty much.
Go dig around and see if you can find Oliver Bean.
Yeah. And let us know what shows you thought were canceled too early or what shows you wish came back.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Drop us a message.
Marketing. Promotion. Send us to your friends. Ask them.
All right. Thanks for listening, guys. We'll catch you next time.
Peace.